So, in case you didn't know, it's spooky season on this channel right now, and I am loving the process of making videos about spooky episodes and Halloween specials. It's great, and October might just be my favorite month of the year. However, I've been thinking about a specific show a lot recently. One that features everyone's favorite Jamaican-accented Reaper of Souls. Of course, none other than the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy. I had a truly tough internal debate about this video. I'm not sure if I've ever had such a hard time picking episodes to talk about. This show was absolutely hilarious in my opinion.
What are you doing with my chocolate dipped pickles?
Whatever you saw, it's not what it looks like.
It ran on Cartoon Network from 2001 to 2007 and was created by Maxwell Adams. The show was received very well, having been nominated for and won many awards, including Golden Reel Awards, Annie Awards, and Emmy Awards.
By the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes.
Originally, the show had its genesis in 1995 while the creator was a junior at University of the Arts in Philadelphia. He created a 2-minute short titled Billy and Mandy in the Trepanation of the Skull and You. The short featured prototype versions of Billy and Mandy and can be found on Maxwell Adams' YouTube channel if you want to check it out. Later, Maxwell Adams would pitch the show to Nickelodeon, who would shoot him down. After that, Cartoon Network would pick the show up after it won the audience vote in the Cartoon Network Big Pick competition, beating out Whatever Happened to Robot Jones.
And they'll destroy us all to make it happen! Destroy us all! 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 I'll take the chicken. Destroy us all!
The formula was unlike anything I have ever seen before. The show revolves around 3 main characters: Billy, the dim-witted, happy-go-lucky little boy; Mandy, the morbid, cynical, and cold-hearted little girl; and Grimm, a Jamaican-accented Grim Reaper who is enslaved in an unwanted friendship with the two since they beat him in a limbo competition by cheating. The 3 go on crazy adventures, usually fueled by Grimm's supernatural abilities. Over time, the 3 of them grow close, and Grimm ends up actually caring for Billy and Mandy, though he does still have a love-hate relationship with them, and he still desires to eventually break free of his servitude. I really just can't give enough praise to this series. All in all, it was a great show. That's why today, on our nostalgic walk down memory lane, we are looking at the top 5 most iconic episodes of the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy. Number 5. Duck. This episode is an instant classic and one of my all-time favorites. It begins with a parody of a sitcom called The Reapers, starring Grimm. He comes in the house after a long day of work to greet his beautiful wife.
What you cooking, baby? Me favorite. Oh, what did I ever do to deserve a wife as good as you?
Unfortunately for Grimm, he slips up and calls his wife Billy on accident, which leads to him realizing that none of this is real, and he wakes up to Billy excitedly yelling,
Same as it ever was! Same as it ever was! Same as it ever was!
Stop saying that!
Having realized that he just woke up from a really good dream, Grimm explains how that's actually a really bad thing for him.
When I have good dreams, a vortex opens in the back of my head, bridging this world and the dark realm, thus allowing a menagerie of nightmares to slither on out.
Oh, yeah! I had the same problem yesterday after I ate that burrito.
Grimm and Billy look around Billy's room to see if they can find any monsters that spawned from the back of Grimm's head.
Well, I didn't find anything too unusual, except for this.
Okay, look, I can explain.
Suddenly, Grimm sees a weird duck wearing a helmet that loosely resembles a Nazi helmet complete with an iron cross and everything. We then learn that Billy can't see the duck, and only Grimm can. The duck then makes a fart noise with his tongue, leaving Billy thinking that Grimm is farting.
Grimm! You made a butt burp!
Grimm attempts to use his mystical scythe to obliterate the duck, but unfortunately, the duck is impervious to Grimm's mythical powers. We then see Grimm going on about his day. All the meanwhile, the duck is following him around making fart noises, which leads to everyone thinking that Grimm is farting. Grimm goes to the home of a confused elderly man to claim his soul, but the man mistakes Grimm for his son, whom he is waiting on an apology from. He asks Grimm for a hug, but Grimm offers him a piece of hard candy instead. Grimm accidentally drops it on the ground, and when he bends over to pick it up, he leaves the duck the perfect opportunity to strike.
I had the same problem yesterday after I ate a burrito.
Feeling fed up, Grimm leaves, claiming that he'll just come back another time. He goes to a nearby park and sits on the swings, feeling pretty down in the dumps. Some nice kids come up and try to comfort him, but that turns into a dumpster fire pretty quick when the duck makes fart noises in front of the kids.
Look at me, buddy. I ain't got no guts, nothing. How could I poop? Huh? I'm a skeleton. Look at me, buddy. Look at it. Look at it.
Grimm goes to jail, and his cellmate is in for beating a guy up for farting. Just the sound of a fart is enough to make this guy beat the snot out of someone. Thankfully, Erwin shows up to bail Grimm out, carrying nothing but his piggy bank.
Here you are, officer.
Gee, thanks. How much was in that piggy bank?
$4.28.
Well, the bail is $3,500.
I was only trying to be helpful.
Now get out of my jail! Out!
Sorry, Grimm!
Yeah, you'd better run! I'd like to think I make a difference.
After he gets kicked out, Erwin goes outside, only to be followed by the duck. Oddly enough, Erwin can see the duck, which makes me wonder if the duck can choose who can and can't see him, but who knows.
This duck is kind of creeping me out, Dad.
What duck, dude?
Yo.
Don't be bugging, dude!
Yo.
Dude!
Yo.
Dude! Yo! Enough!
Erwin and his family go to a baseball game where the stadium is passing out commemorative goatees. One of the baseball players says that it's his goatee's final game before it gets traded to Atlanta, so they observe a moment of silence. Of course, during the moment of silence, the duck blasts out a mondo fart, and Erwin gets blamed for it. The whole crowd chases Erwin's family out of the stadium, and all of them end up getting arrested. The duck then moves on to his next victim, Billy's dad, and it's only a matter of 2 hours before the jail cell is just completely stuffed with people that the duck has gotten in trouble.
I'm not even on this stupid show anymore.
The duck chooses Mandy for his next victim. Mandy is sitting in the library writing a report on the history of corn when the duck keeps making farting noises. The librarian comes up and straight up freaks out on Mandy, sending her to the principal's office.
Mandy, Mandy, I need to know.
Mandy just straight up ignores the duck and acts like there are no problems at all. Meanwhile, Spurg is giving Billy a massive wedgie with the flagpole. One of the teachers notifies the principal and he leaves to go deal with Spurg.
Oh, and don't touch the PA system while I'm gone. The microphone right there with the big red button, don't touch it.
Naturally, that's the first thing that the duck goes for. He clicks the PA button and lets a massive fart rip through the microphone. Afterwards, Mandy straight up roasts the duck.
You think you've won? You think you've humiliated me, broken me, driven me crazy, when every day of my life I've had to deal with... Compared to that, you're just an insignificant pimple on the butt of the world's smallest amoeba. You have no power over me.
Sadly for Mandy, though, she ends up getting about 100 days of detention.
Man, that duck's been following you around for 2 weeks now. Morning, noon, and night.
Actually, he disappeared after the first day.
Then that means...
Oh, baby, that is just nasty.
Number 4, the crawling niceness. This episode begins with Grimm and Mandy watching a documentary about the mating rituals of parasitic worms when Billy walks in and expresses his distaste for bugs. Mandy then tells Billy to get her a soda, so Billy says he'll go grab some from Grimm's trunk.
Hey, you know very well that there's no soda in my trunk.
Well, you've got a lot of junk in your trunk. I mean, who's to say?
Keep out of my trunk.
Billy goes to Grimm's trunk and starts pulling out a bunch of cursed junk, such as a sinister doll, grave dust, and a ritual dagger. Billy then comes across a giant egg that immediately catches his attention.
What could be in an egg this big?
Billy decides that he's gonna hatch the egg right now, so he sets it on the ground and sits down with the egg right between his butt cheeks. After a few seconds, the egg cracks under the weight of Billy sitting on it, and a massive spider pops out.
If a duck had come out, I would have named him Jeff. Bubble!
Billy sprints out of the room panicking. Grimm confronts him, but Billy brushes him off, denying that he went into the chest, and heads up to get ready for bed. Later that night, Billy is panicking in his room when he thinks he sees the spider's shadow, but it's actually just Octi from the Powerpuff Girls on top of his lamp. As soon as Billy lays down though, the actual spider shows up.
Hey Dad, it's me, Jeff. I'm all grown up now. So I baked you some banana bread, and I was thinking that tomorrow we could go hiking.
Billy runs downstairs in a panic and calls Mandy to come help him squash the spider. Grimm takes one look at Jeff and immediately knows that he came from his trunk, so Grimm storms off angry at Billy. Mandy agrees to help him, but when she goes into Billy's room, she has a nice conversation with Jeff, who knitted her a nice sweater, so instead of squashing him, she just leaves Billy to take care of it. When Billy tries to drop a grand piano on Jeff, it backfires and Billy almost gets crushed by it instead, but thankfully Jeff saves his life.
You saved my life.
Oh, it was nothing, really.
I hate you!
You hate me?
Go get squished, you gross old freako!
Squished? Oh dear. You were trying to squish me with that baby grand piano.
Jeff agrees to let someone squish him if that's what will truly make Billy happy. Jeff even calls the exterminator for Billy, but when the exterminator shows up, it doesn't exactly go as Billy had planned.
And the moral? Well, maybe it's just that some bugs are too good to squish. Ain't that right, Jeffy?
Sure is. Look, I made you a big batch of hotcakes.
Man, I love that kid.
Number 3, Grimm for a Day. This episode begins with Grimm pouring a cup of coffee and dropping some medicine in it for a throbbing headache that he has. Billy comes in practicing for his one-man band, but Grimm stops him dead in his tracks, talking about how tired he is from working all night. Billy basically tells Grimm to stop complaining and that being a kid is way harder than being the Grim Reaper.
Oh, no, it's not!
Oh, yes, it is.
It's not!
Is too.
Not!
Too.
Not!
Too.
Not!
Too.
Not!
Too.
Shut up!
Mandy then suggests that they trade places for the day so they can see whose life is harder. Grimm and Billy both agree to it and make the transition into their new respective roles.
It is I, Billy the Reaper.
Good for you. And Grimm, that must make you.
I'm Grimm, the kid.
What have I done?
Mandy gives Billy Grimm's to-do list, and Billy heads off to start the day. First on the list is claiming the soul of one Mr. Voorhees.
Wakey, wakey, Mr. Flores. It's time to get up now, little birdie. How about a nice... I'm coming! I'm coming! People just won't let you live. They always gotta be in your ear,
Meanwhile, Grimm is having the time of his life playing some croquet with Mandy.
Look at me! I'm a kid like Billy!
Billy stands at this house ringing the doorbell for what seems to be a few hours, while back at school, Grimm is having a tough time with PE class. Finally, after a long wait, the old man opens up the door and mistakes Billy for a trick-or-treater. He hands Billy a piece of candy and shuts the door right in his face. Then, Billy looks down and makes a shocking discovery.
turning into Grimm. And if I'm turning into Grimm, then Grimm is...
Grimm misses the school bus and ends up running after it while simultaneously turning more and more into Billy, and Billy also runs home, turning more and more into Grimm. Finally, they both make it home just in time to meet Mandy, who just got off the school bus.
I need to stop drinking steak sauce.
Number 2. Who Killed Who? This episode begins with Billy and Erwin outside playing a board game called Who Killed Who, which is basically a parody of the game Clue.
Hey guys, what you playing?
Oh, we're playing a game called Mind Your Own Business. Budinsky.
Who Killed Who? The fun mystery game for everybody.
Except you.
Yeah, no girls allowed.
We find out that Billy is all bent out of shape because Mandy beat him in a staring contest this morning, so he's excluding her from playing with them. Billy then throws the dice way too hard and they go flying over the fence of the old haunted house that belonged to old Mrs. Doolin. Mandy refuses to believe that it's haunted, but then Grimm comes up and tells the story of the house. We learn that many years ago, some kids were playing stickball in the street outside of Mrs. Doolin's house when their ball went into her yard. One kid named Frankie went through the fence to get their ball, and he was never seen again. Rumor has it that she fed his bones to her pet spider and used the rest of him to make a scarecrow for her garden. Many years passed, and Mrs. Doolin eventually passed away, but to this day, anyone who goes into her yard is never seen again, including Grimm's dog Lucky. Mandy still doesn't believe that the place is haunted, though.
Yeah? Well, if that's what you think, then why don't you go over there and get our dice back?
Fine, I will.
Ha! See? You're too scared to go because you're a girl. Scaredy girl.
I said I'll...
Meow. Scaredy cow. Look at me. I'm Scaredy Mandy.
Mandy walks right into Mrs. Doolin's yard and doesn't find the dice, so she goes straight up to the front door and right into the house. As Mandy walks through the house, we hear the eerie sound of menacing laughter. Then Mrs. Doolin appears, holding the dice, and she tells Mandy that she can't have them. We then cut over to Billy and Erwin. It's nighttime now, and they're laughing about how Mandy was probably fed to her pet spider as they put away their board game and go inside. Back at the house, we see Mandy and Mrs. Doolin fencing in the upstairs bedroom. It seems as if she isn't actually dead, and is actually just an old woman living out her life in seclusion. Her and Mandy go to the kitchen, and you can tell that Mandy is just slightly unnerved.
Melon makes me smile.
Mrs. Doolin takes Mandy into another room where she says that she almost forgot about little Frankie, her pet spider, just like in the story that Grimm told. Mrs. Doolin says that her spider loves melon.
So, she's a vegetarian?
That's right. No meat.
Or, say, bones?
No! No bones either. Why do you ask?
After that, we hear a dog barking as Lucky, Grimm's lost dog, comes up and Mrs. Doolin pets him. Mandy then comes clean and tells her that she heard a story that she fed some kids' bones to her pet spider and that she's actually a ghost.
Must have been talking to that old bag of bones, Grimm. Ever since I beat him in a staring contest, he's been making up all kinds of stuff about me.
Turns out that Mrs. Doolin and Grimm have a pretty lengthy history, mainly consisting of her beating him in everything, including a World Heavyweight Championship boxing match. Mrs. Doolin then offers Mandy the dice back, but Mandy declines on the grounds that Billy and Erwin were jerks to her just because she's a girl.
Oh, that kind of stuff makes me crazy. Crazy! Crazy! Crazy!
We then see Billy sleeping and having a terrible nightmare that he killed Mandy by sending her into that house.
Anybody that's ever gone in there
Help me.
has never come back.
He then darts awake and walks out into the middle of the night to go to Mrs. Doolin's house. Mandy and Mrs. Doolin see him coming and they decide to play a little trick on him. They cover Mandy in some white makeup to make her look like a ghost.
You're all white, like a...
Ghost?
Yeah.
And it's all because you wouldn't let me play your game because I was a girl.
Mandy rolls the dice and they read behind you. Billy turns around to see writing on the wall that says,
Billy in the hallway with the dice by me.
Billy runs out of the house terrified, and Mandy comes out on the porch while telling Mrs. Doolin that they need to chalk up another win for the girls. But when Mrs. Doolin doesn't respond, Mandy turns around to realize that the whole time, the house was destroyed, dilapidated, and empty. The entire time, Mandy wasn't hanging out with the real Mrs. Doolin. She was hanging out with her ghost.
He's never forgiven me for beating him in just about everything.
I know everything there is to know about that house.
Beating him in just about
Everything. Wow. Mrs. Doolin beat Grimm. She beat death.
Number 1. Sister Grimm. This episode begins with Billy and Mandy at the park. Billy's acting like a dog, which is just driving Mandy absolutely nuts, so she agrees to push him on the tire swing if he stops. She gives him one gigantic push as Billy flies super high into the air. Then Grimm comes up.
Hello, Mandy. Have you seen Billy? Hello, Earth to Mandy.
I'm out of here.
What?
Grimm goes flying away, and as he flies towards a giant plane, he remarks on how he needs a vacation. After flying through the air, he lands in the Swiss Alps, head first into the paint bucket of a little boy who's painting a fence. The little boy keeps calling Grimm Schwester, which is German for sister.
No, child. You must have me confused for someone else. You see, I'm the Grim Reaper. I'm not anybody's sister.
Having been mistaken for a nun, Grimm ends up being approached by a group of tiny, jolly, blue-eyed, bell-ringing nuns who want to welcome him into their ranks.
No, I'm not a nun. I'm the exact opposite of a nun. I'm evil.
The nuns drag him away forcibly, as we then cut to Billy and Mandy getting off a bus in Switzerland.
Are you sure you saw Grimm land here?
Sure as pie!
Come on, let's find him.
We then see Grimm sitting on a throne in the nuns' temple or church or whatever, and one of the jolly nuns approaches with a book.
You think this Sister Big Mama is me? I don't believe this. I've never had any children of my own. Come to Mama, girls!
Grimm then proceeds to have the time of his life with these nuns. They go and have a picnic where Grimm plays music for them, they go flying, they go golfing, they go bowling, and they end it all with a nice little sack race.
This has been the best day of my life!
Billy and Mandy continue to look for Grimm as they find the little boy painting the fence.
Good one, you guys. Yeah, I seen that Grim Reaper. He is reaping behind this fence.
When they find Grimm, he's sitting in the yard reading a story to the nuns. They confront him, and Mandy sprays Grimm with a hose, washing the paint off of the bucket and making the nuns realize that Grimm wasn't who he said he was. This angers the nuns, and they all pile on top of each other to become a giant mecha nun to beat Grimm's ass. Once they grab him though, he apologizes for lying to them, which, of course, with them being nuns, leaves them obligated to forgive him.
Billy, Mandy, grab my hands. We're going home. I'll miss you.
But what do you think? Do you have a favorite episode of Billy and Mandy? Let me know in the comments down below. I am always interested in reading your guys' feedback. Make sure you drop a like if you enjoyed this video and give praise to the YouTube algorithm with hopes that it promotes this video. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.